Hey guys, it's Abby with Creative at Home, and I'm here to guide you through a painting today. It's a really fun opportunity for couples to paint together. You can do this on a single canvas, or you can do it on two separate canvases and have the picture become one when they're joined. So it's a really fun picture today. It's called Kissy Fish. And so here is one of the fish, and here is the other fish. And when you put them together, they give each other a big old smack. So I think it's a really fun one, especially for Valentine's Day. And we'll go ahead and get started. I'll go through all your materials and things like that. I'm going to switch over my screen so you can see my workspace, and we'll get going. All right. Look forward to painting with you soon. Alright, here we are. Got my workspace together for this really cute couples painting. I've got two canvases here. These are 11 by 14 canvas boards. You can paint this on any size that you want. But I've got both of the canvases up against each other, and they are both portrait orientation. So from a supply standpoint, I have my brushes. I have a 3/4 inch wash brush for my background. And then the detailed brushes that I have are a 1/2 inch flat number 12 brush, a number 3 small round detailed brush, number 6 round brush, and another flat, this is a 1/4 inch flat brush. So those are the supplies from a tool standpoint. On my palette I have the whole rainbow. I have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and white. So we'll be mixing lots of colors for this. It's a fun, very colorful painting, and so we're going to go ahead and get started with that mixing. So we'll start with the background. That is mostly the ocean. So we're going to do 3 different blues to paint this ocean. So we're going to use just our regular blue color that we have. And then we're going to mix a color that's a little bit purple, more purple on that as well. So we're going to mix some of our blue paint, and we're going to move this over here, and to that I'm going to add a little bit of red, just a tiny drop, and the same amount as the red of white. So we're just going to dip in there to that, and we'll start mixing this color up here, and get that kind of a grayish blue color. And this is the one that we're going to paint the majority of the background with. So we actually, I'm going to make some more of it because we'll just need to do that to cover both canvases. Forgot I'm painting for 2 here for a minute. So we'll go ahead and get that color going, and I'm going to actually grab some more blue paint for this so that we can make sure we have enough paint to cover both canvases. Okay, so that is our majority of the canvas color. And then I'm going to grab some more regular blue. Alright, so now we're going to mix another color. We're going to mix kind of a green blue color. And so we're going to use some more of this. And we don't need quite as much of that for this one. So we'll go ahead and pull some of that over. And we're going to leave some of the regular blue for the background as well. So for this one, I'm going to add the little bits of green and a little pea-size amount of yellow and turn this into a more oceany blue color here. Okay. And it's a little darker, more green than the other option. So we're going to blend these all together to make that cool ocean background. Okay, so we're going to start with the first color we mixed, the color that we mixed with the red and the white. And I'm going to start painting. So you're going to be painting, if you're painting as a couple, you're going to be painting on one side of your canvas. And one of you is going to paint this side and one of you is going to paint this side. I'm going to paint both of them today. If you are painting this canvas and you just want to paint it yourself, you paint the whole thing with the canvas horizontal like this. So there's a couple different ways to do this one. So I'm just going to start by painting, I'll do one at a time, but I'm just going to start by painting this canvas with some horizontally wavy strokes, okay? And we want to cover the whole canvas with this purpley blue color in these horizontal strokes, okay? Just kind of covering that as we go across. Get the edges and then put those strokes back in. If you want to paint your edges, you can. This is kind of a fun one to not put in the frame. So if you're wanting to do that, this is a good time to get your edges painted. Okay. Need a little bit more in that spot. Okay. Alright, so we've got this, and you can see that there's some resemblance of those streaks and things like that. We'll put more waves in here in just a minute. So we're gonna go ahead and start, I'm gonna go ahead and start on this other one. And get this completely covered so that we're on the same thing, and then we'll get this background done. Same thing, if you want to go ahead and paint your edges here, you can. Just painting my edges. Covering this whole canvas. Okay. So we have both canvases covered with that first color. And now we're going to add in waves with the other two colors. So we're going to add waves of this color and then the just plain blue color. And I'm going to do this without washing out my brush. I'm just going to let it kind of blend together. I'm going to start with this blue color, and if you guys are painting together as a couple, this is where you want to kind of have your waves blend together, so you can do that. And I'm actually going to bring some white in there. To get these waves started, and then you can bring some of this darker color in, the green. And we're just going to add waves to this background, so give it a little bit of water and interest. Here. And I'm going to add some highlights up in here too. I like to add some of the white. And just keep going until you've got enough of an interest. I might turn my light off so it's not as, there we go. There's not as much of a glare. So we just want to add some you can take them off of the page there, or the canvas. Alright. And then if you want to add some short little waves throughout, just to kind of give it a little bit more interest. Okay. And the great thing about this is we are not professional painters. We're painting for fun, and so it's just, you want to get it to where it's something that you like and gives you a little interest. So I'm going to add some more white here. Just kind of go back and forth on this. Okay, and I see I've got a blob of paint up there that I want to get out of there. Okay, so at this point you can start mixing some of those other blues back in if you feel like it's alright. So I feel like my background is sufficiently wavy and looks like water. Okay. Alright, so at this point, we are going to stop and let this dry. So we're going to take a little bit of a break. A hair dryer works wonders. Go ahead and pause the video, come back when it is all set. All right, we'll be right back when it's dry. All right, we're back and we're gonna get started on the next step here. We are going to take our smallest flat brush, so the 1/4" flat brush, and I'm going to grab some of my red paint, and we want to have a heart that comes out in this top section of the painting, and half of the heart is going to go on one side of the canvas and half of the heart is going to go on the other. So I'm going to start with my red paint, and I'm just going to paint a heart on this side. Okay. And then I'm going to paint the other half on that side. Okay. So there is the first round of the heart. And I'm not going to fill it in, but what I'm going to do next is grab purple, and do a heart that sort of overlaps while this paint is still wet. There. And do that. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing with blue. And we can go on the inside there. And I'm kind of overlapping the colors, and you want them to blend, but not become one, okay? There we go. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is highlight with some white paint, and just kind of go around here to add a little bit of highlighting. Okay. There we go. And you can work on that. You can see how half your heart's on one and half your heart's on the other. Okay, and if you want to keep adding some of that white, you can brighten it up a little. And then you can bring some of those out a little further. Give it some there we go. Oops. Okay. All right. there's a little bit of a section that I want to fix in here. So once the paint is dried, I'm going to grab some of this other color that we used before and just kind of tighten that up a little bit. Okay, so now my heart is in pretty good shape. I might come back and add a little bit more white highlighting with a clean brush here. There we go. Okay, so now we have that heart, and we're gonna let that set up and then we'll get started on the fish. Alright, we've got the canvas completely dry, our heart, our sea background, and we'll go ahead and start on those fish. So I'm painting this on two separate canvas. So one fish is going to go on this canvas and one fish is going to go on this canvas. If you're painting it on one, you draw kind of a line down the center and keep the fish on either side. So these fish are kind of a fat football shape, and we're going to want to start it right about here and here on each side, because we want to make sure that there's room for the big fish kiss lips that we're going to put on there, those fun fat lips. So I'm just going to start sketching this out with some white paint here and making this fish. And I start smaller, and I can always make it bigger, but if I want to make it smaller, it gets a little tricky. So I can kind of do that, and I'm leaving room for the tail. That's one of the fish, and then the other fish will make it even a little bit fatter here. Okay. So those are our two fish shapes. And we're going to just kind of outline those there so that we have some space to work and kind of know where we're heading. So then we are going to try not to knock over your water. Grab some red paint with our larger round brush, and we're going to paint those lips. So I'm going to paint a heart shape here, so half that heart there and half that heart there. So those are the lips for that fish, for our right fish. And do this fish, same thing. There we go. So those two fish are kissing with their heart-shaped lips. Okay. Alright, so I might go back and go back over that red if I want it to be a little bit more opaque, but we'll work on that piece there. Okay, so we're going to go back to working on these fish and keep things moving here. So I'm gonna grab a red brush, which is our 1/2 inch brush with that white paint again. I'm gonna get the water off here. And I'm gonna paint on the right fish, or the girl fish. I'm going to do a sideways triangle that's kind of rounded like this. For that fin. And then I'm going to add some top fins here and a bottom fin. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to kind of start outlining the sections of the fish so that we can do that. So we're going to have kind of the head come here with this half circle section there, and a horizontal line down the center to separate the thing. And you may want to do it straight, or we just kind of want to section off the back and the belly here for that fish. Okay. All right, and then we're going to switch colors here, and we're going to go back to the kind of greenish blue with a little bit of white, so that green blue that we made, and we're gonna just kind of paint that in. I'm just mixing it with a little bit of white paint here on the canvas. So I'm going to paint in the tail, and the two fins here. Get that all in. And then the bottom fin. Okay, and the top fin here. and it got a little lighter because that white wasn't completely dry, so I'm going to add some more of that ocean color in. Alright, so those are the fins for the right fish. Okay. Alright. And then we're going to mix some paint for the face. Here we're going to work on some lime green. So mostly yellow with a little bit of green. Just kind of get that started in here. We'll do and I like to add a little bit of white in there just to kind of freshen it up. Sometimes that yellow gets a little clear. It's not as opaque as I like. So I add a little bit of white. Okay, so there's my face of my right fish. And we'll go ahead and paint that face in with that green color. And you paint around the kiss, the lips. There we go. Okay, so that's definitely gonna require another coat, so I'm gonna let that set up, but we're gonna go through and we're gonna paint this section here with some orange. So I'm gonna go back and get just some regular orange for that top section and get that started so that we can get this guy all covered up. Or girl, haven't decided yet which side's which. These are a fun color combination though, I like these colors. But if you don't, feel free to adjust them. Okay, so we've got that part of our fish, and we're going to make a really dark purpley red color next for that belly section. Clean off my knife here. So it's going to be mostly purple with just a little bit of red, so just pulling some of this off here and mixing that purple in there. Get this really dark kind of maroon purpley color. It'll contrast really nicely with those bright limes and orange. Okay. Alright, clean out my brush and paint that section in, and then I'll probably go around that fish again with a with another coat just to kind of make sure it's opaque as I want it. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to go back through and touch up. I think the fins are pretty good, but I'm going to touch up these body colors just to make sure they're dark as I want them. And then we may have it dry and touch it up a little bit more. We'll probably end up with another dry break here. Okay, so I'm going to do the orange again. And then just, you go until you like what you have. And we'll see here. Okay. We'll do another coat on the purpley red evening color. So we're gonna come back to this guy and put some more coats on them for demo purposes, but that is our first fish. Alright, so I'm going to scoot this over so I can work on the other fish here. And come back. So I'm going to go back and start working on this fish while the other one dries. We're going to add the tail here first. And the tail, if you think about it, is kind of like a wavy mustache face. So if we sample that, it's kind of fat and then thin. Okay, so it's going to be fat at the connecting part of the tail, and then we'll thin out. So if we come off of here, it's gonna come out this way, and then come out this way, right? Okay. And then okay, so there's our fish, and I think with this one, I'm actually gonna put it in with the white so that we are painting with the same colors here. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing where we do an outline of the main section and the head. So I'm going to still paint this guy in, but we'll just make it easier on ourselves, and for coverage. I think it will be better if we put that layer of white down. Alright. Okay, and then we're going to do that same horizontal line down the center there and paint this side in. There we go. And paint this one in. There we go. Okay, so we can still see that sections that we created, but I think those colors will cover better than we did on the other fish. So, alright, so we're going to create the fins as well here, and this one is going to come up here and just come down that fin, and have the same thing down here. Okay, so we have our fins and we have our fish, and we're ready to start adding some of those colors in. So alright, the face is going to be our lime paint again, so I'm going to make a little bit more, but we're actually going to tint it a little bit more green than yellow this time. So we'll go ahead and just mix it up here. And I'm still going to put some of that white in there just to help it along here. Lighten it up. Okay. Okay, so we've got that, and I'm going to go ahead and get that face painted. And again, we're going to go around those lips. And up. There we go. Okay. I'm actually going to streak a little bit of green in, because I want it to be just a little darker here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and rinse that brush out, and then switch over. We're going to do the fins in orange. So So we'll go ahead and work on that coverage. Okay. And the same thing for this guy. Okay. Alright, and then we'll do that tail. Just go around. There we go. Alright. There we are. Okay, and last we're going to use the same color blue that we used on the other fish for the fins. We're going to use that on the bottom of this. The belly of this fish is going to be that color. And again, that's the one I add a little bit of the white to. Okay. Alright. There we go. And the top is going to be purple. And I'll go ahead and get that in. And this purple takes a few coats, so we'll go ahead and sift some of that. Okay. Get all that green out there. Okay. Alright. Okay, so at this point we want to take a dry break, and you can work on applying as many coats as you need for it to be as opaque as you want it. So you can focus on both fish, getting those base colors where you want them to be before we move on. So pause your video, get your stuff taken care of, and we'll be back in just a bit. Okay, I'm completely dry, and I'm going to work on just one canvas at a time. So this is the right fish. Again, so if you're working on this on a singular canvas, right fish. If you're working on this on two canvas, this is the canvas I'm working on. So I'm going to work on the details for this right fish, and then I'll go back and do the details for the left fish. I think it's just easier to paint with one fish visible to you guys. Okay, so I'm going to use my round brush, and I'm going to grab some white paint, and I want to add the eyeball here. And I'm just going to kind of sketch this big round eye, and it's going to extend above a little bit and kind of go over to where the fin meets. And I'm just going to paint it in. Alright. Okay. Alright. So we've got the eye there. Alright, and now we're going to paint the details in the fins and the some of the body here. So we're going to grab some purple with a round brush still, and I'm just going to start by making lines here that follow the fins like that. Okay. Just to give it some texture and interest, and then we're going to do a squiggly line down here for that part of the fish. And then we're going to do some lines down this fin. There we go. And then the tail. So the tail I'm going to kind of do out from the center point. That. Okay, these are small amounts of paint on this brush. So we have lines out that. Okay. Alright, so we're going to do that, and then just going to kind of add that line down. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to make some pink paint to be a really cool contrast on this orange section here. So I'm going to mix my white and some of my red here until I get a cool pink, so you can see that it's right next to my orange, so I can kind of start looking at the color that I like to, that's going to contrast really nicely. So I think that's gonna maybe be a little bit dark. I can go ahead and add some more white to it. There we go. So we're looking for kind of a bubblegummy, a little darker than bubblegummy paint color there. Alright, so I'm going to use my round brush again and paint pink polka dots all over this orange section with this here, and they're going to kind of be bigger up front and then get smaller as they go back. And try not to make them completely in lines. Try to be a little random with it, but you can just kind of make them circular there. Kind of look like scales, but this is not a realistic fish, so we can just have some fun with it here. Okay. Alright, we have our pink polka dots. And then we're going to use our lime paint down here in this purple section to add some fun there. We're going to use zigzags. So okay, and sometimes it's easier to turn your canvas. And we're just going to go up and down over that section. And if you want to do other patterns in here, you go for it. It's just a fun way to kind of make this fish pop a little. Okay, so there we have that part of the fish. And then we're going to use the ocean color here and that little bit of white to paint the iris of our eyeball. So we want to get it kind of centered. There. Okay, so we'll let that dry a little bit. And then we can use the back, dry this off a little before we use it, but if we dip our largest brush, the hard end of it in the back, we can add a little dot there for the eye. Okay, so we'll let that just sit. And then the last step on this guy is to, well, until our finishing steps, is to use this purpley pretty color that we use down here to paint an eyebrow. So this will be the girl fish. Here. And we'll hit that back up. After it dries a little bit. But there is the detail work, minus the white finishing work that we'll do on both of them for the small fish. We'll go ahead and switch over to the big fish, do the same thing, and then we'll do our finishing work, and we'll be all set on this cute little painting. So, okay, so we are going to start with the big fish here. And we're going to start in the same place we started with the smaller fish, with the eyeball. Big circle here for that eye, so they can see each other very well. Okay. Just make sure it's filled in the way you like. Okay. A little bit more here. There we go. Alright, so we have our eyeball, and then we're going to paint some lines again in the fins using some purple. And here we're going to kind of follow the fins a little bit more. So just to let them go. Let it highlight, and then there we go. Okay, we've got those, and then we'll do the same thing with the bottom ones. And the top one. Okay. Alright. Okay, so then we're going to use our blue paint for the head shape here, and we're going to paint a zigzag down the head. Like that. Okay. just like that. Alright, and then we're going to, in the purple section, use the same color we did the lower section this time to do the polka dots. So rinse that brush out, and I'm going to turn this canvas, and we start big again. Go ahead and mix some of that. Okay, and just keep it going. I like these contrasting colors on this thing. I think they're fun. Fill that in. Okay, so we have our polka dots ready to go there. And then we're going to use blue in this bottom section to add just some scales, scale shapes. And then we want to offset those as we go down to the next level. So the arc of the next round goes from midpoint to midpoint of the round before it, the row before it. Like that. Okay, so they're offset by one each time. Go all the way down. Just like that. Okay, and then we're going to use the lime paint to finish those, but before I switch my brush, I'm going to come up and do my eyeball with blue for this fish. Okay. Alright. So now I've got my eyeball, and I'm going to add my lime green to my scales. Actually, I'm going to use this side of the brush here. Get to a little bit better circle. It's a cool look. I like that. Alright, so now we just need to get that same dot look with our biggest brush. Just got paint all over. And I'm going to grab some white. And I'm going to give this guy his eyeball. There we are. Okay. So, we're finished with all of the colors. We're going to go through, I'm going to get the other one back, and we're going to add some white details, look at these two cuties, to each of these fish, and be all finished. Actually, I'm going to thicken up this eyebrow just real quick. There we go. Okay, so get our brush and we'll get some white paint, and I'm going to start on this right hand fish because she is dry. And we are going to just start adding some white details along the fins here. And inside the fins. In addition to that purple, I may come back and do some more of that purple. But I'm going to start highlighting here around the face. Just to kind of make it look a little bit more interesting. Can give the heart on each one just a little bit. Go. Okay, and we can do that same thing down this fin. And then use that same dot technique down the back. There. On the back. Down this fish fin. And we're going to do them do a little detail sketching here first. Down the back. And then gonna add some dots. And those polka dots. Adding those details there. Okay. And finally, the tail fin. That. And we'll do the same technique. All the way down this fin. Almost there. On this one. Alright, now I'm going to add a little bit more purple to some of these fins. I feel like that's a little light, so. After we add that white, I feel like it could use some more of the purple. There we go. Alright, so there is our girl fish. She's all finished. And we'll go on to the details for the male fish, and then I'll get a nice cool shot of it together, and can't wait to see what you guys come up with. So for this guy, we're going to do similar things where we're just going to start outlining. We already did his lips. I'm going to do some down here and here. Do some around this way. Okay. And same thing here. details to that fin. That one. Okay. All right. And then we'll add some details to these. Not every single one of them, but some of these polka dots. Okay. Alright, I think we are all set with that. The only thing I think we might do is add a few more details to the heart, but I think we're going to put that together while we do it. So here are the pretty much finished products. And just add some more details here. There we go. Alright, so here are the two kissing fish, or Kissy Fish paintings. I hope that you've enjoyed painting them as much as I have, and if you are painting with a loved one, hopefully you take one and the other takes one, and you can remember each other and your experience doing this each time you look at it. So thank you so much for painting with me. My name is Abby, and I'm with Creative at Home, a mobile art studio. If you would like to do an event in your home for adults or children, you can check out all of my services at creativeathomeart.com. And I'd love to see your artwork from this kit. You can share it at hashtag creativeathomeart on Instagram or Facebook, and hopefully you can find my other videos on YouTube. So I enjoyed this today and look forward to painting with you again soon. Have fun.